Prepare to be amazed as two men, legally classified as vintage, compete to recall pop culture nonsense from a time when parents smoked in grocery stores and Ronald McDonald roamed free, judged and scored by artificial intelligence. Chris and Jeff sift through the glorious wreckage of a gleefully neglected childhood, hoping to find meaning. Nice pull, because if we don't remember this crap, you know damn well someone's gonna try and reboot it and make it way worse. All right, Chris, I'm loving this, man. So episode 68.
68.
Ever closer to the episode 70. I'll say it one last time. No, I won't. I'll say it again next episode. Episode 70 is going to be so exciting. I don't know what's in store, but man, Chris, when it happens, you're not going to believe it. Why is it a milestone? Because we made it to another number that's divisible by 10, I guess.
Apparently. I mean, generally, yeah. If it's 70th anniversary, 70th, oh, totally. You know, and hey, although I think every day you wake up and put your foot on the ground, I think could be a milestone. But hey, yes. But no, we're not there yet. But 68, hallelujah.
Well, here comes episode 68. Hell or high water, it's happening. And you know what that means. That means, and by the way, it's taken us 68 tries to finally get used to what that means. But here it is. This is what that means. It means that we're going to go over really quick episode 67, and we're going to find out who won the last episode. And for those of you joining us for the first time, what do I mean by that? Chris and I say a bunch of shit, most of it completely irrelevant. That is the entire show. Just a bunch of super obscure pop culture references that a lot of you folks seem to love. Thank God. Thank you so much for that. And AI, the artificial intelligence, right, over there at Cyberdyne Systems, it actually listens to our transcript and then it adds up the score. And based on how obscure the reference is, it gives us a higher and higher score, right? So Chris and I are in a unending battle. It's not a battle of the sexes or the network stars.
Or the wits.
Right?
Yeah.
This is just a battle. Well, it's definitely, good Lord, is it not the battle of the wits? Wow, this would be the opposite of a battle of the wits. This would be the battle of guys who are just, again, we mentioned this before, hopelessly addicted to the dopamine rush of recalling things in the back of our brain that have been dormant for a really long time. And apparently some of you out there are also addicts. That's all I can figure. But thank you so much, everybody. So let's go ahead, Chris. Let's open up the liquor cabinet and let's go ahead and discuss really quick the top polls from the last episode and then get right to that score and see who won episode 67. So, Chris, number one, Jeff Thill, that guy, my greatest poll, the thing that got me the most points was when you and I were discussing restaurants and we went over the unfortunate, ill-titled restaurant chain Sambo's. And I was able to somehow remember that the mascot, the icon that they had on their signs was a little Asian Indian kid guy character that had a turban and then also got bonus points for comparing that to the character Haji on the TV show of the cartoon Johnny Quest. So it was sort of a double point extravaganza there, Chris. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and double poll. And in the world of sports, Chris, could that be a double play? No, what would that be in the world of sports? I don't even know the equivalent.
Okay. Yeah, I'll allow it. Yeah.
Or maybe it's just hitting a double. I don't even know.
Yeah.
All right, something like that.
Uh-huh.
All right, we'll work on that.
Double play.
Can you guys tell that I don't know much good sports stuff? And then Chris, your best poll from the last episode was, and it was impressive, we were getting off on a tangent about the show Real People versus That's Incredible. Mm-hmm. I was getting confused over the TV shows and mixing them up. You set me straight immediately. "Hey, you stupid mother effer,
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't real people. That's incredible," or vice
Mhm,
versa.
mhm.
And Chris not only remembered Kathy Lee Gifford, right? Or was it Kathy Lee Crosby?
Kathy Lee Crosby.
Kathy Lee Crosby.
Mhm. The original
I
Kathy
just
Lee.
lost another 50,000 points for thinking that Regis Philbin's co-host was
Mhm.
somehow on the show. That's incredible. Now I've lost points.
Okay.
Damn it. But at least I know my error. At least I knew that that's where she's from and I caught myself. Yeah?
There you go.
Okay.
Right, right.
So Kathy Lee Crosby, Chris actually knew that she was inexplicably in a failed attempt at a Wonder Woman series. And
Mhm.
this was going to be our Wonder Woman
Yeah.
in lieu of Linda
Not my
Carter.
Wonder
Chris
Woman.
knew this, and that was big points.
Ah,
Not that's right. By the way,
who knew?
hashtag not my Wonder Woman is literally owned by Chris.
That's right.
So if you guys want to go there and check out
Sure.
when he's not on this
Uh,
show, when he's not figuring out things to talk about on the next episode, that is all he's thinking
oh,
about is
um,
who is dissing his girl, Linda Carter, and
mm,
making sure that she is always known throughout history as the Wonder Woman, not this Gal Gadot stuff.
there you go.
I don't even know if that's how you pronounce her
I think
name.
it
All
is.
right,
No, that's right.
Chris.
That was right.
Well, let's go. Is it Gal
Mhm,
Gadot?
mhm.
Okay. Because it seems like it would be Godot, but I
Right,
guess it's Gadot. All
right.
right. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and take a look at the score. Take it away, AI scoring machine thing. All right. Jeff isn't out, right? He's down, but he's not out. I am trailing Chris, everybody, by more than a few games if you add up all the different times we've been keeping score. But
Uh-huh.
I will say that I am catching up a little bit now. So I did win the last game, the last episode. But hey, man, it was close. It was very close. So Chris, I I don't know what kind of mood that puts you in for the rest of the episode. Are you going to take your microphone and go home?
Yes. No, let's go. I'm gonna kick your ass right now. Right now.
What do we got on the old agenda for today?
Well, before we get on to what I think our main topic, we did discuss
Go ahead,
briefly and make
start talking, rack up some points.
yeah, I'm going. Just shut up, will you? So, we talked a little bit, made reference, passing reference, and I think we have done in the past. I think at this point, 68 episodes in, we're passing a lot of references. Um, we talked about drive-in theaters and drive-in theaters, which I don't know when their heyday was. We definitely were not in the heyday. They were still around back when we were kids, but I think they may have been sort of on the other side, heading slowly but surely downhill. Drive-in theaters. I remember I have a handful of memories about drive-in theaters. Guessing you have the same, or maybe you have more. But before, again, without getting too much into them, as because they're pretty much gone. Although I think they had a brief renaissance, right? A brief resurgence during the pandemic. The few drive-ins that were still around, like, hey, we got business now because
Right.
people have to sit in their cars and not, literally share an arm or, be literally on top of somebody almost. Drive-in theaters, any specific, I'll just ask, any specific experience, any specific theater itself, or just a general, when I tell Jeff, drive-in theaters, go. What do you think about? What jumps out at you?
The first thing I think about is I don't remember ever seeing a movie at a drive-in that I actually wanted to see. Now I know that sounds completely crazy, but it always felt like I was just being taken there as an adventure, but it was normally going to be something that was more appropriate for my parents or just something that wasn't really something I was into. And then on the rare occasions where it was something maybe oriented more towards my age group, it was something that was going to be super scary. And back then, I was not a huge fan of horror films like I am today. I was a pretty scared of that stuff. I didn't like like you wouldn't have caught me, Chris, at the Exorcist. I think Chris, you mentioned you were 5 years old. No, but it was
Was it
something like that.
so, something inappropriate? 7, maybe, whatever it was. Yeah.
Okay, still. In fact, I was so afraid of horror films that one time when I went to Parkway Plaza and there was the triplex or whatever, and there was a bunch of movies there. They were showing Carrie as a double feature with some other horror film, and the ushers were just, playfully dressing up in a Halloween costume, and even that was too much for me. Like I literally was like, nope, can't do it. So sorry, I'm backtracking here. Long story short is that's my first recollection of drive-in movie theater experiences is number one, I don't really love this movie, but I'm gonna love the adventure of being there because there
Mhm.
was nothing cooler, right, than driving in and pulling up in a parking spot and, getting that speaker clipped to the window and then
Mhm.
finding out that it was a piece of shit and didn't work, and then having to
Right.
back up again and go to another parking spot before someone else got it
Right.
because, "Oh, this one does work." And, that's my initial impression. What's yours?
There's just a few memories that kind of stick out. Number one, and I don't know if you ever like again, they were fairly prevalent to the point where you could remember, and I don't remember, maybe there was some that were maybe off the freeway or off like a main road. Do you ever remember driving past a drive-in theater and you could see there was a movie playing? You're like, "Ooh, what's playing?" Right? You were trying to figure
Oh,
it out
yeah.
from your
Yeah.
foot. It's pretty
Yeah.
much just like passing a billboard, right? You got 7
Right.
seconds to sort of dissect and digest what you see. And so it was like, oh, they're showing, Beneath the Planet of the Apes or something like that. So I remember that experience again, the passing by. I remember specific ones that were around town. There was one called the Ace Drive-In Theater. There was one, obviously, the
Yeah.
Santee
Right.
Twin, which I think I'll get back to in a second, which I think may have been the last one we went to. Um, and so everything, yeah, you talked about the speaker, the parking space, driving in. I remember, right? You never really saw it. It was the experience itself. You didn't necessarily go for the movie. You went to go to the movie. You went to sit in your car. I can remember going with my family and being young enough to I had to wear my pajamas. All right, in case I fell asleep. My
Right.
mom
Oh,
make
yeah. That
my
was yeah.
my
Yeah.
mom making popcorn on the stove, right? And then putting it in a brown paper bag. And then you'd have like that paper bag full of popcorn. And then you see like little oil spots on the bag, kind of like anything else, like you're bringing up. So that I remember very specifically. A couple of movies, maybe seeing like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I very
Ooh,
specifically,
nice.
yes, one thing, What's Up, Doc, which is a hilarious, madcap comedy with Ryan O'Neal and Barbara Streisand. That I remember. So I remember those movies. Those all stick out for whatever reasons. And then flash forward, several years to where it didn't, they were kind of nobody really went to them anymore. They were kind of like dying out. And again, I remember going in high school, um, very specifically to the Santee Theater. And again, because it's high school, we just did what we used as another excuse to drink, right? So of course we brought in our beer that we bought, either I think we got bought at Par Liquor or something like that. We went to the Santee Theater and saw a movie called Teachers. And I remember this again because this is why I remember this so vividly. It was my last drive-in experience. It was a movie called Teachers. It was with Nick Nolte. It was kind of a comedy drama about this urban high school. And there was this and at that point, yeah, you're sitting in your beach chairs, right? That's what we did. We didn't sit in the car. We brought our beach chairs. Everybody sat out in front of their cars and hope that they, again, meet some kids from other schools. We're sitting, there's a very tense moment. And there was like a gun involved. Someone pulls a gun out of the locker. I think it was Crispin Glover, if I remember correctly. And they scream, and there's this chaos, and it's all tense because I think he gets, I don't know, shooting, whatever. And it's dead quiet, dead quiet. Everybody's like, "What are we watching?" We're staring at the screen, and right in the middle of it's basically the climax of the film, and it's the most tense part possible of the movie. And as it's dead, everybody's just kind of like, what's happening? And then this boy, this voice comes out of said speaker that's attached to all the windows, and it's like, snack bar closes in 5 minutes. And I almost fell out of my beat because nobody expected, right? Popcorn's flying because it's like, holy shit, people are literally on the edge of their seats, and this voice completely breaks it. So that wouldn't happen in a regular theater, right? It's not gonna and we all
Yeah.
burst out laughing,
Yeah.
which pretty much at the most tense,
Yeah.
most dramatic, violent climax of the film, snack bar closes in 5 minutes, and it completely took us out. And then I think we made a last run to get snacks before that closed. And that's what I remember. So drive-in theaters, hey, Made a small
Well,
comeback, but I think we're probably better off with regular conventional theaters, which are having their own issues nowadays.
I love the fact that after you recovered and the joke was over, you're like, "Oh shit, we actually should probably go to the snack bar." Right? You actually heeded the announcement. And
Right.
that guy that announced it could give a flying shit about the tension of the movie because for him that
Absolutely.
was the 200th time that he's absolutely and all he knows is that he's gonna get in big trouble if he forgets to make that announcement. The manager is gonna be super pissed,
I,
right? So,
I
yeah,
guess.
that's so funny.
Was that even necessary? I mean, because there's probably not really any
Well,
ideal time to make that announcement during a film when you think about it. Um, whatever. Whatever.
and by the way, who better to pull a gun out of nowhere and start firing and upset the entire momentum of the movie than Crispin Glover?
Yeah.
Just that was good casting. I don't know that I've seen that movie, but that's good casting
Ralph
right there.
Macchio. Hey, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Or is it Macchio? You tell
Macchio,
me.
Macchio. Yeah. Macchiato.
So that reminds me of a story. I wasn't there, but this just cracked me up, and it wasn't a drive-in, but humor me for 1 second.
Mhm.
The movie American Werewolf in London with Dave Naughton
Mhm. Yes.
and
Griffin
oh
Dunn.
god, Jenny Agutter, who
Jenny
was
Agutter.
my
Sci-fi
ultimate
goddess.
crush from from Logan's Run.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, the movie American Werewolf in London, talk about tense scenes, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that movie was the first time that I was absolutely terrified in a film. And Chris, we all know that movie.
Mhm.
You remember the scene where he transforms into a werewolf for the very first time.
Mhm.
And at the time, it was cutting edge. You're watching his legs stretch and his
And
jaw
his face.
stretches,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fangs are coming out, and he's just in agony.
Mhm.
And you're in his apartment and he just finished transforming, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you hear the phone ring. Presumably it's his girlfriend,
Mhm.
and the camera just sort of pans slowly in the dark inside of his apartment, dead silent in the theater. Everyone is completely stunned,
Mhm.
and the phone is ringing and ringing and ringing. And then my friend says in the theater, "Hello?" As if it was like a Scooby Doo character, like, "Hello?"
Oh, man. Oh,
And
that's
the
good.
entire crowd just started laughing, right? I always loved it when I would go to a movie theater and it was sort of a fun film like Spring Break or Porky's or something like that. You
Mhm.
didn't have to concentrate on it. It wasn't meant to be, intense or thought provoking. And the crowd was crazy on the weekends and everybody
Mhm.
would start to get wild. I actually really liked that, where everybody's just like yelling out jokes and having a great time. That was
Mhm.
also a fun movie experience, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're a little I don't think you get that as much anymore. I think that for whatever
No.
reason, there's more decorum, or if you are going to the theater and you're paying about, $20 and above, and you're reclining, and you're almost like in your own little world. Yeah, it's definitely I could think of a few experiences like that as well. Or maybe the best one was always the inevitable beer bottle that just rolled from like the top behind you, and all of a sudden you hear the jing ding ding, and it was like, and you'd have to wait till it got to the bottom of the theater before it stopped. You know what I mean? So just chink, clink, clink, clink. Um, haven't heard that anymore because now you can actually just buy beer at a theater. But
Those were fun. I remember one in particular. There was a movie called, I think it was just called House, and it was a haunted house, and it was just this crazy, almost like a poltergeist movie where
William Cat, I think.
weird ghosts and explosions, and it was just meant for what's that?
William Cat, I think, right? Wasn't he the star of that one?
Yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, man, Chris, that
Mm-hmm.
was a good poll because I barely remember it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was William. Chris, did I ever tell you about the time that I slept in the same crib as William? Okay, yeah, we've already gone over that. Anyway,
You
that's old
did. You
news.
did tell
You'd
me.
have to go back to the previous episode to know that one.
Right.
So it was one of those movies that was already just meant to be fun and a bunch of jump scares. And Chris, the entire film, I mean, it was packed in there. There were more people in there than there were even seats on this one night that I was in that movie theater,
Really?
and it was just screaming and yelling and partying nonstop. It's as if the movie wasn't even there. I've never experienced anything like it. It was just people yelling jokes and screaming stuff and throwing popcorn. It was utter chaos. And
Interesting.
having been a movie theater usher for a long time, I was just like, wow, this is really awesome. But at the same time, does nobody work here? And then I look back, and two of the ushers and some girls from the snack bar are literally part of it. They're throwing popcorn at people and yelling and screaming and drinking in the back. And I'm like, this is so fucking awesome, man. It's like the owner went away for the weekend or something. And it's just like, da, 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 da. Anyway, not something you would experience at a drive-in, but uh, anyway, those were some great movie experiences from
Were
back in the
you
day.
offended at that point where you're like, "Hey, do your job," right? Because you clearly
No,
there
I
was a
was drunk.
okay.
No, I was fine. It was great for me. I thought it was awesome.
You
Yeah,
didn't
I
whip out
loved it.
your flashlight with that long plastic cone on it. You know what I mean? So it was like you remember.
Yeah, I think this was before my
Uh-huh.
days as an usher. So
Okay,
I couldn't quite respect the flashlight just yet. Yeah.
you hadn't earned your flashlight.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
But drive-ins later then, Chris, of course, became swap meets, is what really happened,
Hmm.
right? Typically, the drive-in would still exist, and then they would have swap meets on the weekends just to try to make some money off of that real estate. But the actual screens were
Hmm.
always getting more and more dilapidated, right? And the
Yes.
wood is starting to fall apart and
Yep.
it's starting to decay, and you're just like, oh man. It was
Hmm.
very sad. It was almost like a post-apocalyptic war zone for a
Hmm.
lot of these swap meets later on,
And
right?
they even took the campus drive. I don't know if you remember the campus drive-in near San Diego State, and it had that big majorette on the back, and
Yeah.
it had a very thematic sort of mission style because again
With the
trying to reflect
baton.
the environment. Yes, and then when they
Yeah.
took that down and replaced that with a mall, but a shop, a strip mall with a supermarket and everything else. But then they took some of the images and the the icons iconography, whatever you want to call it, and like there's small representations, so they
Mhm.
respected the histories. But yeah, drive-ins.
Did you ever sneak in? Did you ever get in the trunk and sneak into a drive-in?
Yes, yes. I think probably I think when we saw
You did?
Teachers
Oh,
with
wow.
Nick Nolte and Crispin Glover, I think we did at that time. Yeah, absolutely. Did you? That was you had to do that. I mean, I think they were doing that when as long as there were drive-ins, I think, not with my parents, again, when we were back and then I was in my PJs in the family wagon, but yeah, we definitely did that.
Well, Chris, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, but I do feel like I need to, at the very least, report it,
It's yeah, well, I get
you
it.
know?
You have your movie usher your Hippocratic oath for being a movie usher.
I think in the case of ushers, it's a hypocritic oath because I was equally bad in theaters in terms of my behavior as much as I was the police force later on, keeping people from doing that. But there was nothing greater as an usher, yeah, than to shine a light in someone's face and tell them to shut the fuck up. That was awesome, dude. I loved that
As an usher, as a movie theater employee, did you let your friends in? Did you let people in for free?
all the time. Yeah, yeah. When I started at the movie theater, it was for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh no, excuse
Nice.
me. It was for Temple of Doom. Temple of
Okay.
Doom, right? So
Okay.
it was the second Indiana Jones movie.
Mhm.
And it was fun because that was back in the days, Chris, when we already talked about this before, but the line would be around the block, if you want to call it that. But in this case, it would be a line that was, you know, 600 or 700 people long and
Mhm.
winding out into the parking lot. And every single show is sold out and
Yeah.
people are just losing their minds. Just the hype, it was so exciting. And that was back in when we had the one big theater, right? So you could get hundreds and hundreds of people in there. Imagine that, by the way, hundreds
Uh-huh.
of people in one theater. And now today, it's what,
Right.
37 loge seats that all have recliners and lumbar support and shatsu massage or whatever they call it, right? And you can have your sushi brought to you and your IPA.
Uh-huh.
Not a bad
Uh-huh.
way to go, but dude, I would love to just for once go back into a giant theater again, wouldn't you?
I would. I would, but I don't miss that part. I mean, I think maybe this is the ideal part though of a movie theater now. Again, yes, we missed again. So we had the big ones like the Cinema Grossmont where you worked, which I think now is its current iteration is as a Crunch Fitness. Um, the Loma Theater in the Valley Circle and the Cinema 21 and the Cinerama, right? And all those the big ones, the auditoriums, right? Like the Valley Circle played Star Wars for more than a year, right? I mean, that was it. It was the only place in town that played Star Wars. We probably talked about this before. But yeah, that experience was super cool. Although I have to say that being able to buy your tickets in advance and not have to do that, not have to stand in line and then think if you got there too late and great, we're in the first row. That part is awesome. Yes, and obviously all the experiences change.
Yeah.
You're crunched in. There's maybe 75 people in a theater as opposed to 500, and so the experience has definitely changed. And the screen is smaller. The sound's probably better, right? Because the technology is better. My favorite part would always be like when let's say you did get there and you got there 45 minutes or an hour and you got in line and you got your tickets and then you picked out your seats. The best part was that, yeah, they had like random seats and the people who would come in just as it was getting dim and they'd have their popcorn and they'd have their soda and they're walking around and they're squinting and they're stunned that there are no seats and there are no good seats left. You know what I mean? It's like, and again, you
Yeah.
probably
Right.
experienced this. As I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
what the actual hell do you
Oh,
think?
yeah.
The movie starts in 10
Yeah.
minutes. And yes, they had some seats left because they're the shit, but nobody's going to want those seats. But yes, they sold you a ticket because they had a few, and you're second to last person in the theater. So guess what? You're not going to get,
Yeah.
in the fifth row from the top in the center. You're just not, but they look stunned. Like, what happened? There are no seats. That made me laugh. So I miss that. I miss people not experiencing that anymore.
I used to have that all the time, right? Where the movie's about to start. It's going to start in allegedly 2 minutes, and you're so excited, almost like in an airplane, where there's nobody sitting next to you, and you're like, "Oh my god, did I luck out? Nobody's sitting next to me. This is awesome. I can kind of move my elbows a little bit, and there's a couple spaces on each side of me." And to your point, inevitably, 30 seconds before it starts, or a minute after it starts, somebody is stumbling through the dark, shoving their butt in your face, almost tripping over your leg, spilling popcorn on your lap. "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize there'd be somebody here in the theater right before it starts." And then they're going to sit down right next to you and start moving around, and now for the first 5 minutes of the movie they're settling in and they've got to make all this effing noise, and inevitably, Chris, what do they have? They have the red vines. And what does that mean? That means it's the crinkly package that you got to open that makes more fucking noise in a movie theater than if you had a loudspeaker or a megaphone. That cellophane where you're like, "I'm sorry, we just got here." Thump, thump, thump. And now every noise this guy makes, I just want to punch him in his face. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, that sucks too.
Okay. Well, first you almost lost me because I couldn't tell if it was Jimmy Stewart or Edward G. Robinson who was coming in the office.
Yeah,
I
see?
was like,
I'm gonna sit down.
oh
Hey,
yeah,
listen.
uh,
Fuck
uh, yeah, see this, yeah,
guys.
see, yeah, I got a gun, see, or my rabbit, his name was Harvey. I couldn't tell who it was. Basically, though, but I
Yeah, I'm
like the,
sorry to act like
yeah.
a scurvy spider. Yeah, yeah.
But also, here's another thing.
I don't know what that was,
And
Chris.
in the end, to
Yeah.
stick on as we're now the movie memories are popping out. It's not just drive-throughs. The one thing, again, if you want to look at then and now, and the thing that's changed for the better, first, did you ever? And some people, I knew people who absolutely would not, under any circumstances, go to a movie by themselves. Okay. And I don't know. And first of all, let me ask you that question. What was of course, you worked in a theater. And so maybe you actually got off and like, hey, I'm going to go see, Mannequin or something like that because I got a few hours to kill and I'm just going to go sit down and it's free. And I'm a big Kim Cattrall fan. I don't know. Something like that. But okay. But would you see, what were your thoughts on going to the movies by yourself?
I never got in my car and said, "I'm going to go watch this movie by myself." I don't think I ever did that one time in my life. But working at the movie theater a whole bunch of times after I got off work or whatever, I probably, yeah, many times sat in there and just watched a movie on my own. But normally speaking, yeah, that wouldn't occur to me at all. But I don't know, to your it's so funny because you're right. Nowadays, it is so cool to reserve the seat and know that there's nobody that's gonna be sitting behind you kicking the back of your seat. That's nice. Um, but man, still, as much as I don't like to be elbow to elbow with people, I would trade that in at least a few more times just to be back in that big movie theater with tons of people because there's a certain vibe, it's like a not a mass hysteria, but a feeling, an energy that you get. Maybe it's mass hysteria. And when it's a great movie that everyone's super into, like a Star Wars film or maybe a Star Trek movie, something geeky and nerdy, a
Oh,
Marvel
yeah.
film, man, there is nothing better than everyone is cheering for it and we're all Chris, did I already go over this? And if I did, I will shut up. Did I tell you that I saw the movie Superman recently?
No, you did not.
Okay, I'll make this kind of quick here, but first of all, Superman is a great film. It's just like you're reading a comic book. If you love comic books, yeah, I thought it was great, but ev- people are very split on whether they liked it or not. But here's my point. Chris, I know that for years now there are 30 minutes of trailers before you see a movie. So if the movie starts at noon, you really don't have to show up until 12:30, especially if you've already reserved your ticket, right? And you've got your seat assigned. In fact, if you show up on time, you are going to watch 30 minutes of trailers. That was the old days. Nowadays, as you well know, and I hadn't been to a movie theater in a long time, it is 25 straight minutes
Uh-huh.
of just commercials. Absolute,
Yep.
not even hidden, just full on commercials, one after another, again and again and again. And Chris, you know my feeling on commercials. That's why I ditched cable TV. I'm very grumpy when it
Mhm.
comes to commercials. It was all I could do to not walk out of Superman before it even started because it was just I think I counted something like 60 commercials in that amount of time. And then they would throw in a couple of trailers. And you know what? Honestly, Chris, I don't even want to see the trailers. I know this sounds crazy, but nowadays trailers give away the entire film. They don't do like they did in the old days where dun 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 and you get the sense there's something in the water and then it says coming in July. No, now it's like and then this happens and then this happens and then at the end this happens and everyone lives. Okay. Hope you want to see that movie. So by the time Superman even started, I was in such a foul mental state. I can't even tell you. And I'm a pretty easygoing guy normally, but I was like, you know, thank God it
Mhm.
was a great movie. And within 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But
I mean,
wow, was
uh,
that obscene. Really, you
yeah.
you almost want your money back.
Well, yeah, and you can make the argument, number 1, it's like, "Look, I already paid to be here, right? So, but you're still gonna force ads on me," and that's like, I already paid it's not again, to your point, this is not free television. This is not free entertainment. I'm getting this in between shows. So there's that argument. The trailer and then there's also my favorite is the ones that are telling you about the AMC ones, and it's Nicole Kidman and telling you about the movie experience. It's like, "I'm at the movies. You don't have to sell it to me. I'm here, okay?" You know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to tell you don't have to tell me about how it's cool to be sitting in the theater and the lights go dim. No shit, Nicole, I am here. I know that. Thank you. But the thing is like you mentioned going to it's like I actually had there are some people that wouldn't go to the movies by themselves. And I kind of tried it a couple of times. And once or twice I did it because I was like on a work trip or something. And it was just like, so I had some free time or had nothing to do that night. I went to the movies. But the worst part about going to the movies by yourself is, and again, if you're talking back when we were kids, back in those days, pre smartphone era, you had nothing to do. Right? If you went to the movies and had, again, you didn't have a cell phone, you didn't have a smartphone, and you had no one to talk to, you're just sitting there staring at the screen and taking the senseless survey and then fill in the blanks, you know? blank busters. You know what I mean? Whatever, like playing the stupid games. Who likes, raise your hand if you like spaghetti or listening to movie tunes, whatever. You had absolutely nothing to do. Now, just like waiting at the airport or waiting at the doctor's office or whatever, it's like, well, I'm just going to scroll through my phone. So I think for me, it's like, yeah, and then the movie turns on and then at that point, hey, I don't think it's as big a deal. So, um, I think the stigma, I don't know. I think we still like to go. I think the theater experience, yeah, I think it's much different than watching it at home, but, it's different. It's changed but we've changed, and I'm kind of 50-50 on both.
I will tell you about my worst behavior that I ever did at a movie theater. If you want to hear just a very quick story about my worst behavior. One time, Chris, uh, we were waiting in line for a movie. And the line was inside the movie theater, right? So this is one of those multiplexes that has multiple theaters. And this is a popular enough movie. And I forgot what movie it was, but there was a pretty big line. So we're inside the hallway of the movie theater, and there's a
Mhm,
little rope, and everyone is doing what they're supposed to do, politely waiting in line.
mhm,
And this young kid, and by young, I mean he was probably 19 or 20 years old with his girlfriend. And at the time, I'm a grown adult. I know better than this, Chris. I'm going to say that I'm a little ashamed of my behavior, but I was probably 6 or 7 years older than him, and they did that thing where they walked to the front of the line and just sort of hung out by the door,
mhm.
and then it's first come first serve, right? So
Sure.
whoever gets in first is going to get the best seat. That's how it used to be. And this kid and his girlfriend just think, hey, screw it, man. We're just going
Mhm,
to cut in front of everybody as soon as the door opens. And, you know,
mhm,
screw all y'all.
mhm,
And for some reason, man, that just did not sit with me. And I think it's mostly because he was just so cocky about it. I don't know what it was, but I sat down right behind him and his girlfriend, and so, it's tiered, so they're sitting a little bit below me, right?
mhm.
And I'm sitting above them, and I leave to go get the biggest drink that I can possibly get. And I come back and sit behind them, and I literally start saying to the guy, "Man, I didn't realize celebrities were allowed in the theater. That's incredible." So, yeah. Can you remind me again what movie I might have seen you in? And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man. I just assumed when you cut in front of everybody that you must be somebody famous." And then he just starts going off and being a complete dick. And I'm like, "All right, cool." I wait until 20 minutes into the movie to accidentally spill my drink, Chris. And I didn't just dump it on his head, but it was enough. And I literally go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. I am so sorry." And I didn't dump it on top of him.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm proud of that looking back. I don't know
I
if that's
think
gonna keep me out of the gates of heaven. But the dude stood up and screamed like a 10-year-old girl, honestly. It was so amazing for me because not only did I get the reaction that I wanted, it was 7 times better than I ever imagined. He was literally like, and losing his mind. And he stormed out and left his
mhm,
poor girlfriend there. And by the way, I didn't touch the girl. I was just on him. It was just on his left shoulder. But hey man, I am so sorry, bro. I can't even believe that happened. Sorry, man. And he goes, "Well, I know what you're doing. You did that on purpose. And he leaves and never came back. I don't know if they murdered him in the lobby because he was such a bitch. I don't know what happened to him. I have no idea. But he left his poor girlfriend there and he never returned. Anyway, what is
okay,
that? Was that bad of me? I guess it was.
you know, I think nowadays you'd be risking your life if you did something like that, depending on what part of the country
Not only
you're in.
sued, I would be in jail. I would literally be in jail, and that would not only be a yeah, it would be assault and battery, right?
If you hadn't
Yeah.
been or just shot, right?
Yeah.
So that was an interesting move. I don't know if I ever had that kind of confidence to try something like that. But hey, I think
I was
you
the lesser man that day, Chris. I'm embarrassed. Yeah.
no. Hey, I was at a movie theater once, and again, it was packed, and this was pre, whatever. It was, as a matter of fact, it was like an art house kind of theater, but every seat was taken, and we're sitting there waiting for the movie to start, and I hear, and the, these women behind me, and this one goes, "Can you see okay?" And this guy, and then the woman behind me goes, "This guy in front of me's got a big head," and so I'm just like, and so I turned around and just looked her right in the end, and I'm just like, "Yeah, it's big, but it's proportioned to my body." And the look on her face, but at the same time, normally I kind of slump down and recline. Nope, I stood up as for I became the human shield for that. It's just like, I know I got a big head, lady, but yeah. So that was, I didn't, she didn't have to change her clothes when she got home, and I didn't dump an $11 soda like you did. But hey, again, like I said, I come from a long line of big-headed men, and I understand that, but that was a little much, 'cause I come on, really? Like, my head was blocking the screen? Maybe it was.
Chris, how about the person that, God bless their heart, they think that this would be a great way to escape their newborn baby, would be to see a movie, except for one problem. They brought the baby with them. Right? And then all of a sudden, 20 minutes into the movie, it's just nonstop crying. That's not such a big thing nowadays. It doesn't seem like that happens too much, but I remember
Mhm,
back in the day, at least one out of every 6 or 7 films, there was gonna be a crying kid
mhm.
or, a screaming baby. That was li almost like Space Invaders when that UFO comes by just randomly and
Uh-huh,
messes
and you
up all
try to
your shit.
uh-huh.
Yeah, that was gonna happen.
There was smoke. I remember, like, a smoking kind of room for theaters, right? People could go in behind glass and smoke, and there was also, like, crying rooms where you could go and take a do you remember that? Or did I make all those up? Am I hallucinating?
No, there might have been a crying room. What is
Mm.
that for, like, the movie Brian's song? Like, is that what it is, Chris? Where you go and openly weep? What
Love
is that? What do
Story.
you mean? Oh, a
Yes,
cry.
Love Story, Ally McGraw.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
No, it was like a few seats in like a little room, and they had a big glass window and crying rooms and smoking rooms. I'm fairly sure they were not the same room. They may have been the same room, but literally theaters had those. And so you could go and again watch the movie and light up a heater, or, you know, feed your newborn. So I mean, there were options for that. I don't think I'm hallucinating that. Oh, whoa, Jeff. Okay, so we started. I think our initial goal was to just sort of, let's briefly talk about drive-ins and our experiences and the historical aspect of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as it happens so frequently on this podcast, which you could check back and look at our old episodes at nicepoolpod.com. Um, it turned into a whole movie-going experience, and your memories and my memories, and starting from our childhood memories in enormous auditoriums and things that may or may have not existed, such as crying rooms and smoking rooms, and then we wrapped it up even to our adult experiences, where we had experiences with let's just say other movie theater guests, um, different experiences, and I chose science, Jeff, you chose violence. So
Yeah,
probably a great
yeah,
place to leave it for now.
yeah.
And hey, anybody wants to chime in on their own experiences, we'd love to hear them. So, anything else you would
Chris,
like
I
to
would
add?
like to end yeah, I would like to end on one thing that's been driving me crazy here because, again, as always, right? Me, the guy that got into something like 20 fist fights when I was younger, all my fault, completely brought on by me. You know this. Why? Why did I feel the need to pour my drink on that guy's shoulder? Well, Chris, because he reminded me so much of a character in a John Cusack movie, Better Off Dead. But I think you would know the name of the character. I can't Google it, but I'm going to Google it in your mind, right? So this was a kid that would have been the equivalent of John Cusack's nemesis in that movie with the popped collar and just the smarmy, holier than thou frat boy mentality, silver spoon in his mouth. The kind of guy that just thinks he's just the best and yet is really just a horrible human being at heart. That's what I was imagining him as. That's the character in my mind. Who was the
So
guy in Better
you
Off Dead that was always trying to, yeah,
you were imagining the local ski champion, the only one who could conquer the K2. Yes, the Aryan looking straight with the blonde feathered hair, the popped collar, the one, the only Roy Stalin. So again, anytime we can name someone, name a
oh
character in a
my
comedy,
God.
anytime we can name
Okay.
somebody
Wow.
Stalin, I don't know how that would fly these days, but yes, I want my $2. Um, that
Yeah.
whole Better Off
Right.
Dead, and that's one for everybody to chase down on streaming if they can find it. Better Off Dead. So, yes,
Couldn't leave this episode without at least giving the audience a visual, just so that hopefully you can put yourself in my place and say, Jeff, maybe, just maybe, dumping a 75-ounce 7 Up on that guy's popped collar was the best move, and had we been you, we would have done the same thing. Maybe I can just get some kind of empathy, from the listening audience. But Chris, we started off with an agenda. We were just gonna barely talk about drive-in theaters and then get into a
mhm,
completely different, super captivating, amazing topic. We went down the rabbit hole, mostly by fault, but that's what we do. That's the whole point of the podcast, yeah, right? So,
uh-huh,
maybe by episode 70, we will finally get the topic that we were going to do today. But until
maybe.
then, what do you think, Chris? Until next time?
Till next time, Jeff.